Let's break down The Witcher Season 3 finale. Hi everyone, this is Robert. Welcome to Deep Geek. On this channel we cover The Witcher books and TV show in full, as well as other great fantasy worlds like The Lord of the Rings and A Song of Ice and Fire. If you like the sound of that, there's a subscribe button in the bottom right of your screen. The Witcher Season 3 Part 2 contains 3 very different episodes that, very broadly, cover the second half of the book Time of Contempt. Obviously, there are spoilers here for both the TV show and the books. After all the fun of the ball at Thanedd in Episode 5, Geralt and Yennefer finally figured out that the evil mastermind behind so many of the bad things that had been happening to them, sending the fire mage Vance after Ciri, that weird flesh monster and the fake Ciri, a secret deal with Nilfgaard, that was all Vilgefortz. They'd assumed it was Stregobor, and he is still pretty awful, but the big baddie is Vilgefortz. So at the end of the first half of the season, Geralt heads out to confront Vilgefortz, and runs into a rather confused scene. Dijkstra, the Redanian spy chief, and his magical partner in crime Philippa have launched a sort of preemptive coup against the mages. The showrunner here acknowledges that the politics circling around this have been somewhat simplified from the books, but basically Dijkstra and Philippa see Nilfgaard as the big threat to all of the North, and have grown tired of the mages not getting their act together to help. And they suspect that some of the mages may have been secretly collaborating with Nilfgaard. They're not wrong about that, incidentally, but as we shall see, they have overplayed their hand a bit here. The plan is to round up all of the mages they are a bit suspicious of in the middle of the night, after quite a heavy evening before, and lock them up with Dimeritium bands, which stop them using magic. The small group on the island would then be bolstered by a much larger force of Redanian soldiers arriving by boat. Geralt, as he usually does, opts to remain neutral here. His neutrality is a big theme in these episodes, and as far as he is concerned, the person he is looking for is now in chains. Enter Tissaia. Tissaia is headmistress of Aretuza and lover of Vilgefortz, and understandably isn't happy with Dijkstra taking matters into his own hands like this. She magically frees the mages, and realising that the backup army he ordered hadn't arrived, you may remember the random messenger Applegat who got killed earlier in the season. He was carrying that vital message. Dijkstra makes his exit. It was a short-lived coup attempt, but don't worry, there's another one on the way. Nilfgaard has sent a small army north with their new allies the Scoia'tael and 2 powerful mages of their own, Francesca and Fringilla. Their inside man is, yes, the newly released Vilgefortz. He lets them in, and Tissaia finally realises that her lover had been playing her all along. What follows is carnage and confusion. You might think that wizards defending their own might easily have the upper hand, but the Nilfgaardian archers have Dimeritium-tipped arrows, so they can go straight through magical barriers. Francesca manages to pin some of them down by pulling a magical ring of fire down from the air. Tissaia seems to be wandering around in shock at everything that has happened. Geralt and Yennefer and Vilgefortz and Ciri and Dijkstra and Philippa are all desperately trying to find each other or get out or defend themselves. And as I said, it's all a bit chaotic. But eventually the tide is turned by Tissaia using Alzur's Thunder, a hugely powerful lightning spell that ages her significantly. Out of this mess, Geralt, Yennefer and Ciri manage to meet up, swiftly getting rid of Ryance, who tried to ruin their reunion. This is probably the last time the 3 of them will be together for a while. It certainly is for this season, but during the season they have really strengthened the bonds that destiny placed between them. Geralt and Yennefer got back together, and Ciri and Yennefer formed their mother-daughter link. Ironically, it's Yennefer's care for her mother figure, Tissaia, that breaks them apart again. Alzur's Thunder is still raging through Thanedd, and Yennefer wants to help Tissaia. She promises that she will find Geralt and Ciri, and heads back into the fray. But the obstacles keep coming for Geralt and Ciri. This time it is Scoia'tael, sent by Francesca to find Ciri, led by none other than Geer. Now, Geer has gone on a bit of a character journey since he was the Black Knight hunting Ciri in Season 1, and now he wants to make up for the sins of his past. So he switches sides, protecting Geralt and Ciri from the Scoia'tael. Keep an eye on Geer over the next couple of seasons. His character arc is one of the more dramatic ones. Anyway, Geralt and Ciri don't make it far before they get stopped again, this time by Vilgefortz himself. Geralt tells Ciri to run with the usual promises that he will find her, and faces off against Vilgefortz. Now, we're used to Geralt doing quite well in these kind of situations, but now we see the extent of Vilgefortz's powers. He has another go at recruiting Geralt and then does a little bit of monologuing, which helpfully fills in a potential plot hole from Season 1 where Geer defeated Vilgefortz in combat, something that seems unlikely given Vilgefortz's powers. But here Vilgefortz admits that he has been masking his true strength all along, even to the extent of letting Geer humble him so easily. Vilgefortz now toys with Geralt before leaving him broken and defeated on the beach. It's a humbling moment for Geralt, particularly as he must feel that he failed in his mission to protect Ciri. So by the end of episode 6, our Witcher family is now split up once more. Yennefer gone to help Tissaia, Geralt lying dying on the beach, and Ciri last seen running towards the Tower of Tolhara. And before we see what happens next to each of them, let's just take a stock of the casualties in that episode, for there are many. Rience, the fire mage, is dead, killed by Geralt, as is Lydia, Rience's go-between with Vilgefortz. She was killed by Yennefer. Filavandrel, once a king of the elves and Francesca's husband, died saving his wife from a magical attack from Tissaia. Stregobor probably also died while killing elves, buying some time for Tissaia. We didn't actually see him die on camera, so maybe he will be back, but I think they want us to think that he's dead. There's also Gerhardt and Artorius, 2 more mages who have been involved on and off through the show, killed during the fighting. Oh, and Istred, Yennefer's old lover, gets shoved through a portal by Vilgefortz to who knows where. He's probably not dead, but he'll probably also find it quite hard to get back. Anyway, 2 people who are very much alive are Dijkstra and Philippa. For 2 very competent and capable people, they got this all wrong. Their coup attempt to capture suspect magic users was foiled by Tissaia. Their backup military didn't arrive because their messenger got shot, and we also learn about the third part of their plan going wrong. They had sent Prince Radovid to capture Ciri and marry her off to their King Vizimir, a move which would have politically strengthened Redania. We speculated in the breakdown of the first half of the season that there was probably more going on with Radovid's secret trip to the house Jaskier and Ciri were hiding in, and this is what was going on. Anyway, Ciri obviously got out of that, and Jaskier was obviously quite insulted to learn that his new lover was using him to get to Ciri. What Radovid did later suggests that he did have genuine feelings for Jaskier, but by then events had moved on. Because what are Dijkstra and Philippa to do now? They've lost Ciri, caused chaos among the mages, and turned a good number of them against Redania. Any hope of having some friendly magic users to defend them against another Nilfgaardian invasion seems slim. King Vizimir is not happy, of course he isn't, but before any punishments could be meted out, Philippa just kills the king, or more precisely, she hires an assassin to do it, and while his blood is still on the floor, she crowns King Radovid, who had been on the verge of heading back to try and patch things up with Jaskier, but now seems okay with being king instead. Let's see how this changes him, because his character in the later video games in particular is very different to how we've seen him so far on the TV show. Bloodthirsty politics is also going on in Cintra, where Francesca and Fringilla, fresh from the ravages of Thanedd, now try to put their alliance with Emperor Emhyr on a more advantageous basis for them, proposing that they co-rule Cintra, which he does agree to as long as the Scoia'tael keep fighting in the north. Although, again, there's double-crossing going on here, because they are also planning on capturing Ciri for their own purposes. Francesca wants to cut the deal with Emhyr, Fringilla wants to go ahead with the Ciri plan, and Fringilla lets slip that it was Emhyr who ordered the death of Francesca's baby last season, which goes down as well as you might expect. Expect Francesca and the elves to be back on the warpath next season. To tie off that part of the plot for the season, the last 2 episodes were littered by rumours that Emir had captured Ciri and she was being taken to him, which we know isn't the case. And lo and behold, when we see this Ciri, it is actually Terrin, the fake Ciri we met earlier in the season. Vilgefortz had magically made her look a lot like Ciri and believe that she is Ciri, and now he is there presenting her to Emir. This is a slight difference to the books. There is a fake Ciri there, but it's Emir who had found her, not Vilgefortz, apparently tricking Emir, one to keep an eye on for next season. But let's get back to our Witcher family. Yennefer made it to Desire and stopped the madness, and a small group of sorceresses regroup and try to work out what to do next. Aretuza and Thanedd are pretty much destroyed, but even more than the physical destruction is the end of any pretense of the mages of the continent working together or training new recruits together. Many of their number have died. Vilgefortz, Philippa, Francesca and Fringilla have shown their own separate loyalties. Nilfgaard and Redania are both against them. They decide to start by doing the right thing and honouring the fallen. They gather the bodies of the novices that Vilgefortz had been experimenting on in that cave and give them a proper funeral. But by this point, Desire, broken by what happened to Aretuza on her watch and Vilgefortz's personal betrayal, takes her own life. Yennefer is distraught, and now the sorceresses have no obvious leader. She goes to see Geralt, more on him in a moment, and helps to heal him, before returning to the new small gang of sorceresses, stepping up as their new leader. They don't use the phrase here, but presumably this is the show's version of the Lodge of Sorceresses that emerges from the ruins of Thanedd in the books. There, Philippa is more of the leader, but it seems that Yennefer will be taking on that role in the show. So let's turn to Ciri. We last saw her running towards the Tower of Tol Lara, which hides a monolith. After defeating Geralt, Vilgefortz follows her, trying to tell her that only he can help her control her powers. She ignores him and is drawn to the monolith, which is seemingly trying to communicate with her in some way. She touches it, and the tower blows up. This is powerful magic. Vilgefortz survives, but half of his face gets scarred. Ciri, meanwhile, portals, apparently with very little control, into the middle of a desert. She obviously doesn't know where she is, but we know that this is the Korath Desert, which is east of Nilfgaard and southeast of the Northern Kingdoms. It is, as we can see, inhospitable and unpopulated, other than a few creatures that eke out an existence there. It is known as the Frying Pan due to its heat, hence episode 7 being called Out of the Fire into the Frying Pan. And most of episode 7 is her making her way out of the desert. She has a couple of run-ins with monsters, and the conditions nearly kill her, but the 2 most important things that happen are the visions she gets and her forming a bond with the unicorn, which she names Little Horse. The unicorn is not a vision, it is actually there, and Ciri saves its life. I won't go into the details here of how this particular unicorn will be important later on, other than to point out that in the world of The Witcher, unicorns are not just rare, mystical beings, they are also incredibly magical. This will prove to be a very useful ally for Ciri in the future. But then there are also the visions. Figures from Ciri's past berate her for her failings, and a hooded figure reveals herself as Falka. Falka is, it turns out, one of Ciri's ancestors, a carrier of the Elder Blood, and firstborn child of the King of Redania at the time. After being overlooked for the succession, she led a rebellion that swiftly got very bloody. She was eventually captured and killed, but not before cursing the peoples of the land that they would suffer at the hands of one of her descendants. A grim story, and now Falka is appearing to Ciri, her descendant, in visions, urging her to unleash her powers in vengeance upon the world. What will follow, I'm sure you can guess, will be quite a dark chapter in Ciri's life. She gets caught and saved from the desert by bounty hunters, but they in turn are attacked by the rats. We will hear more about the rats in a spin-off show, but we can already see that they are an outlaw group of teenagers, not necessarily all good people. Even more importantly, we see how easily Ciri turns to her first human kill. She's fought monsters before, but not humans. When asked her name, she says Falka, which, given what we know of who Felka was, is a bit ominous. Dark times await for Ciri. Finally, let's look at Geralt. After being left near death by Vilgefortz, Triss manages to get him to the Brokilon forest where the Dryads are. They have a complicated relationship with Geralt and sorceresses, but agree to help. Yennefer also pops in for a bit, and Jaskier comes to be with his friend. Eventually, Geralt does recover, and he's had some time to do some thinking. He is, of course, going to go after Ciri, and the only clue he has are these rumours that she's been taken down to Nilfgaard. So he heads off with Jaskier and Milva, an archer and resident of Brokilon. The fight scene, when Geralt confronts the Nilfgaardian soldiers, may have seemed to be mostly about giving Henry Cavill's Geralt a good send-off, and it was a great fight scene, but there's also clear evidence here of a big change in Geralt's character. His insistence on neutrality has always been a massive part of who he is, not taking sides in the wars going on around him, or even in local disputes. It was emphasised several times this season, but now, if he is to get to and protect Ciri, he has to abandon that. He has to pick a side. He is against Vilgefortz and Emhyr. We see this practically when he turns and attacks the Nilfgaardians after he has managed to talk or bribe his way past them. The old Geralt would have just kept on walking. And we see it symbolically when he gives away Renfri's brooch. He got that way back in Season 1. He had to kill her after getting too involved in conflicts between humans, and carried it with him as a reminder of that, and as a symbol of his neutrality. So, The Witcher Season 4 will have a new actor playing Geralt, but also a new Geralt in a way. Being a neutral Witcher is now no longer a priority. He is going to find Ciri, and woebetide anyone, Emhyr or Vilgefortz, who gets in his way. If you'd like more videos about the world of The Witcher, please click on the link to my playlist on the left of your screen. Or to support this channel, the best way to do that is by clicking through to my Patreon page on the right of your screen. Thanks for watching. That's all for this time. I'll see you again soon.